Welcome to this riveting episode of JTV International. My name is Deb, and if this is your first time of joining us, welcome. We'll go straight to the point. Now, Malam Nasser El-Rufai has been making the news for all the wrong reasons. And after watching a couple of tapes, a couple of comments from him, I'm thinking to myself, someone should check that man's head quickly. He's showing psychiatric symptoms. I think he needs to see a shrink. Otherwise, we'll have ourselves to blame if this man, causes all kinds of trouble in the country. Because I do not believe that any sane thinking person who went to school, has two gray cells to rub together, can say the kind of things that this man has been saying. I call him El Evil because that's precisely the kind of person he is. I mean, Uba Sani and Shehu Sani, great gentlemen. They've tried to ignore him, but even they had to come out and say something, because this man is behaving like a drowning man who's grasping at any and everything, and if you're in his way, well, he was just gonna pull you down, okay? I watched the full interview that he granted at Kimbaloe, I think it is, of Channel TV, and then I watched the full interview that the Shehu Sani granted to TVC. Now, in that interview of Malam Nasser El-Evil, I have never in my life and in all my travels, not just in Nigeria, seen someone who lacks so much insight that it is troubling to me as a doctor and to anyone watching. He came across as angry, arrogant, entitled, like Nigeria belongs in his hand pocket or in his carrier bag, and we're just all his property to do and dispose with as he wishes. He waves away any attempt to tie him down to the violence that has rocked the country and has spawned across the country now, with retaliatory violence from people when attacked innocently by thugs that he had groomed when he was the governor. He said so many things that were so insightful that, I was looking at my husband and saying, look, he should be so lucky that he lives in Nigeria and that Tinubu is the president. Any other person, including his fellow Fulanis, they will have dealt ruthlessly with him. Ruthlessly. By ruthlessly, I mean ruthlessly. He just casts innuendos here and there. Nuhu Rubaidu did this, and the other one did that, and that one did this, and the classic narcissistic behavior. It's me, don't care about anybody else, don't take responsibility for anything else. It is me. Like Sheikh Hussaini said, 4 years at the BPE, 4 years Minister of the FCT, 8 years as a governor, and of course he's positioned his sons in strategic places. And in case you don't know it, he has a so-called foundation with Oxford. And I hope Oxford University is watching this, because you are aiding and abetting and harboring a terrorist. Because that's what that man is. At one point, he actually said, nobody has the monopoly to violence. What does that mean? Meaning he can resort to violence if need be. And during that same interview, he said, I dealt with this one, and I dealt with the other one, and I dealt with this, and I dealt with that. No. If people, commit an offense, we have a robust legal system. You put them through the system. Both parties put the arguments forward, and, a judgment is delivered. If it's not carried out, or you feel you've been hard done by the judiciary, well, you can appeal. But as we heard from Sheikh Husani last night, it seems that, he had every machinery of government in his pocket. And as Sheikh Husani reeled out the number of people that he has jailed over his 8 years of tenureship as Kaduna State Governor or Kaduna State Dictator, I couldn't help but shake my head. I could not help but shake my head. And, I have a friend who said to me, you wouldn't believe what politicians will do just to stay in power. And, when he told me that, I didn't understand the full ramification of it. But now I do, just watching El Evil, because that's what I call him, El Evil. His rantings sound like that of a desperate, drowning man, a man who has completely lost out. Instead of going away quietly, like, Sheikh Husani was advising very nicely and, tactically. No, he decides to jump in the fray, jump in the water, drag down anybody he can drag down, jump on the bus. What next? Maybe jump on a keke napep or jump on an achaba and be campaigning until he falls. Because I remember him saying, and I watched this live on his failed confirmation to be a minister, he said, I'm going to school, I'm going to Morocco, then I'm going to Saudi Arabia. And I'm like, yep, you're ticking all the right boxes. And then from there, I'm going to Oxford. And I'm like, Oxford, right, okay. But he never went anywhere because we kept seeing him. He kept turning up like a bad penny. Nigerians, wake up. This man has nothing, zero, zilch, nothing to offer anyone in this country of any hue, shape, or creed. Whether you are a Muslim, a Christian, a traditional religious person, or whatever it is, he has nothing to give. Not even to his own ethnic group. You see that? All he's doing is steering more anti-Fulani sentiment against fantastic people like Sheikh Husani, Nuhu Rubadu, Ubasani, just to mention a few. He's in the mode of, if I don't get what I want, well, let's burn down the house. Let's bring down the house. In essence, as they will say when I was growing up, Amutu. Amutu means let's all die. Let's all die. Now, Nigerians, is that the kind of man you want leading even your family? Is that the kind of man? I surely, I can't imagine him just even managing my garage. Let me just put it that way, okay? And handling my dogs. I can't imagine him doing a good job of it. Because I have a feeling, midway down the thing, I will just tell him, you are fired. Take your advance payment and just go. He is that bad, that man. Okay? So he stated fictitiously, I don't know where he got this nice round figure that Christians in the States were like 30% and that he didn't care what they felt. How can someone who is clamoring to rule a country, to be the leader of all, diss a large segment of not just the country, but a state where he ruled? And when did he conduct his own census that he found that Christians were like 30% of the state? And I really plead again with President Tinubu to please ensure that no matter what, let's have a proper census. That's when we will tick off all the cows, the chickens, the goats that are currently on the so-called census that was done before. Let's get a proper census, because without a proper census, you can't plan. You can't plan. All this crying of foul, Tinubu sending, things to the Southwest and all this business developing the Southwest. Hello. As far as I know, the Fulanis have been in charge, not even the Hausas, just the Fulanis. They've been in charge of this country, whether it's been militarily or even in civilian clothing. They've been in charge of very key strategic positions, like Shehu Sani stated yesterday. What did they do for their people? Nothing. All they did was pack our money away, be setting up foundations in Oxford when there are universities in Nigeria where you can set up a foundation. Okay? Your wives and side chicks and kids and kin all live overseas on our dime. I have no problem with people living overseas. Anyone is free to live anywhere, but not on the dime of the Nigerian child, the Nigerian pregnant mother, the Nigerian youth, which is how these people have robbed this country over the years, and they are still not satisfied. What will it take? What will it take for people like Malam Nasser El Evil to know that their time is up? What will it take? Please, I'd like to hear your comments down below as I conclude this part of the telecast, and I'll be right back. Thank you.